Hello everyone, and you're watching Bitcoin Bubble news channel. In other words, people want approval right away. I also know that a lot of people are unhappy with the Bitcoin price right now. It's staying around 58 or 60. Why should I care? Actually, this makes me think of something that happened in 2019. It was stuck between 5 and 10,000. At some point in the next year, this thing will go over 70,000 and not look back. It will then go to 120, 150 or wherever. Thanks for coming back to the show. The Bitcoin bubble, we are going to look at Larry Lepard in today's clip. You should do what he says and put as much money as possible into Bitcoin. He's also going to talk about the end of the paper dollar in a very strong way. So be sure to see this through to the end. A lot of useful details. Sign up and like. More people will see this movie and learn about Bitcoin. Let's play the video and listen to what Larry has to say. People who are 30 years old and can see clearly know they have a long way to go and a lot of money to make. Who cares if this thing moves up and down a little? But if you're 60 or 70 years old and put all your money into something that will lose 60% of its value, that's not good. For that reason, I believe older people should be a little careful. But that doesn't mean they hold no value. Of course, I'm glad you were able to convince your dad to do it because it's the best investment. What I think will happen is that it will continue to be the best performing financial asset. We all know that the roller coaster doesn't last more than 4 years, so if you can make it through that, you'll be fine. But if you're dying and might need the money in a year or two, you probably shouldn't have all of your money in Bitcoin. It's not a matter of having a 0 or a 1. When I talk to my older clients, I tell them, look, I'm not telling you to put all your money in the big one. I'm just saying that having 0 Bitcoins is crazy because it's got more asymmetry than anything else in the world right now by a large measure. That's the funny thing. I came across a divorce bill to tell the Goals people that they're making the mistake of fixing an older present. I totally get it though. It's now worth 60,000, but you bought it for 5,000. How am I going to pay that much? I told them, yeah, but you don't get it. When I bought it for 5,000, I looked at Max Kaiser who bought it for 2. And you have to get used to the idea that what Saylor said is true. Laura, it will keep going up. So, if you bought it for $60, I think it will go up to $600 and then to $6 million, which I think will happen. You will be glad you bought it at 60 for many years to come. However, you need to wait. People who work in the field know a lot about it, have studied it, etc. say that Bitcoin is the only thing that should be used as a warning to others, and the only time I've seen people get hurt in this. I think it's more important for all of us who support Bitcoin, you, me, and everyone else to do this. To fully tell a customer what they're getting and what it can do. Because the only time I've seen someone get hurt at it was when they got too excited about it and FOMO'd into it right at or near the peak, right before it dropped a lot. They felt bad about being wrong, so they blew it out at the bottom. Oh, I see. They bought some, which was a good start, but they didn't do the other part right. They did not take the dollar cost average. Instead, they sold because the price made them think they were wrong in some way. However, if they had just hung on, we all know that anyone who has been in it for 4 years is ahead of their cost base. And I think that will keep happening. But for an older person who doesn't like taking risks, it should be an active part of their portfolio that, if it goes down 60%, it won't change their life or scare them. I'm not sure what that means, but if you're 70 or 80, it might be 10 to 20% of your assets. But I believe the trend is quite, and how long do you think it will be before Bitcoin dominates the world or the dollar and other paper currencies fail completely? Yes, I think they might have another 10 years of can kicking left in them, but we're getting very close. If you use the fourth turning model, these things usually last 20 to 30 years. And you think about that, you know that the start of this fourth turning was, I believe that was the main that really woke you up, right? That's when I realized, oh my God, these guys are crazy. It will always be possible for them to print money to keep this going. That would be 28 years from now. The year 2038 is 30 years from now. That's why I think this problem will be solved in the next 10 years or maybe even sooner. And when the problem is finally fixed, there will be a lot of money printing and huge inflation. They'll not be able to stop, and when people lose faith in a currency, it fails or hyperinflates. That's beginning to become clear. There are two very good signs that point that way. One is that we just hit a record high for the price of gold. It costs more than $2,500 in US dollars. I'm sure it's also a record in Australian dollars. The price of Bitcoin isn't a record yet, but it's pretty close. The record was in the low 70s. In the 1960s, we were pretty close to that, and they were a little below it. I have also noticed that gold tends to move first when these things happen because it is more widely held and I think more geopolitically aware of problems that are about to happen. So, if the last few times this happened are any indication, I think that Bitcoin will move and it will move much faster and harder than gold in the next 3 to 6 months. I mean, if you can handle the risk, I believe Bitcoin is a better investment than gold. But, it does lag a bit sometimes. I also think that we don't know what the other side will do to try to poke fun at us. They could do a 6102, which means they could take it away if they really thought they were in danger. I believe that many of us would not follow through, but that's a different matter. I guess that's true. Sailor told me that one of his worries about risks is that only the key developers will go bad, but I don't think that's likely to happen. In fact, I don't think it's likely at all, and I think that the way that changes are approved is fine, that it's not likely that the issue will go in the wrong way or that we'll have another fork war or another. I mean, it's just another block size war. That's one of the risks then. I guess it would just be that governments take responsibility, but I don't see any proof of that. That's most likely the biggest risk. When you spend, anything can happen. Nothing but good things can happen. And I think we should be ready for them to try to change the rules and say they're taking responsibility while then putting up a lot of obstacles, either by making it harder or charging a lot for it. That's right, we saw what they did with choke point. They clearly don't want this to threaten the system they already have in place. So I think we need to think of clever ways for them to try to stop it. I don't think anything they do to try to stop it will work, but I do think we shouldn't discount them because I've seen them work for 40 years and know how they slowed down gold in 2013 and other things. They can also throw us curveballs, so we shouldn't think they can't. This is why and this could lead to big problems. And you have to be ready for that in order to quote unquote understand what we are up against. We're also up against some very wealthy people who are trying to protect their system. In addition, they have the power to make things happen, as well as a loudspeaker with the press and everything else. All of that is falling apart now that we have podcasts like this, talk to each other online, plan workshops and other things. We scare them with everything they have, and they could come and say, we're going to take all your Bitcoin. Those of us who keep our own Bitcoin will say, good luck with that. Yes, they could do it though. Yeah, that could make people have to leave their homes and live in other countries, break the law, or do something else. I don't think we should. I think the people who run these countries are psychopaths. Also, we shouldn't forget how bad a maniac can be when they want to show off their power. We shouldn't be foolish and think that switching to a Bitcoin standard will be easy. These people are going to disappear into thin air. That could happen, I hope that comes true.